Wow, thank you so much. It's great to be here. Great to have the chance to do this. Gareth is my name, as Sven mentioned. And as a recovering academic, as Sven also mentioned, I've been involved in peer review in a variety of different ways for more than 20 years. As a researcher, performing peer review, which we'll talk about in a moment, dealing with peer review as an editor, and also hearing and experiencing and experiencing, I would say, like lots of issues in the peer review process. So reviewer credits is a great thing, in my opinion, like a way of trying to help researchers with the peer review process and a way of building out the peer review process and managing that as a key component of research integrity, which of course is what we've been talking about in this session all day. And so to get started, I remember when I was a PhD student, one of my first interactions with the peer review process, my supervisor talking to one of his friends on the phone about two papers that they both had in peer review at the time on pterosaurs, which are a kind of close group related to dinosaurs that used to fly around in the sky in the Cretaceous. And my supervisor said, "I'll give your paper an easy ride if you give my paper an easy ride." And so that was one of my first interactions with the peer review process. It's a system open to abuse, as we all know, simply laziness. And this has, of course, led to lots of problems in the publishing industry in terms of retractions in particular recently. And generally at Reviewer Credits, we're very engaged with the researcher community. We spend a lot of time talking and working with the reviewer community. And of course, this is one of the stickiest points in the research cycle, because if you're a successful publishing academic, you're also going to be doing lots of peer review. But researchers have issues with the peer review process. We know that a little bit as publishers, and I'm always very surprised at the disconnect between publishers and the research community. I mean, we know things like researchers don't like getting hundreds of emails. They get suspicious of certain journals and publishers. They often feel, as I'm going to talk about in this presentation, that they're not being rewarded or recognized for peer review, or even that they're working for free. And I 100% agree with the points that Phil was making in his presentation earlier, that this is a socio issue, a societal issue amongst researchers, but also the way that researchers get incentivized is just really bad for the whole process. When I was publishing papers in Nature and Science in my research career, nobody really bothered about what the contents of those papers were. They were just very happy at my institutions that we could get our papers into those kinds of journals. So we at Reviewer Credits are working to change the system a little bit and help with the process for researchers. And we know that this isn't working. We know that reviewers are unhappy with peer review, and so are publishers, of course, as the slide here quite succinctly points out. Like 15,000 years of peer review were performed in 2020 alone. We all know, if we're working as editors, I do this every day, many emails need to get sent just to find a reviewer for a paper. Many reviewers decline those peer review requests. Many have never received any training in peer review. And I would agree with this stat. Absolutely. Journal editors say that the hardest part of their job is finding willing reviewers. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. And at the moment, there's not much movement, as I'm sure Phil will agree, at institutions, funding agencies at the national level to really start to recognize peer review as part of the research process, for people to get proper credit, for researcher reviewers to get proper credit for the work that they do for journals and publishers. So that's where Reviewer Credits comes in. And I'm absolutely not selling anything. As a former academic, I'm really bad at that kind of thing. But Reviewer Credits provides 5 key services. Reviewer Finder, we help journals and publishers to find best fit peer reviewers. We have identity checks, which is really unique. The reviewers on our platform have been double verified, so we definitely know who they are. That enables journals and publishers to protect the integrity of their publications with personal and academic email and so on. We have a big network of reviewers, so publishers and journals can tap into this resource, people ready to perform peer review. And reviewers get rewards on the platform. They also get certification. And I like this platform very much. The initial idea, of course, was to provide rewards for reviewers, but what Reviewer Credits does is it guarantees that the review requests coming to researchers, people like me, are actually coming from credible journals, journals that are matched to their experience and that will enable them to really get ahead in their careers. So they don't have to worry anymore about all of those emails that they might get from other publishers. They get requests for review through the Reviewer Credits system. They know that those requests are going to be matched to their expertise and that those requests will help them to advance their career. And we did quite a lot of work talking to reviewers. We talk to researchers and reviewers all the time, and it's quite striking the discrepancy between, for example, what peer reviewers want to receive. You can see here that over 80% of reviewers would like to get money or APC discount tokens from publishers compared to what they actually get for their efforts. And you can see that they get certificates and APC discount tokens most of the time. So that's a starting point for some of the rewarding work that we do at Reviewer Credits. But again, let's emphasize, in the past 2 years, how often have you actually been rewarded as a researcher reviewer for the work that you've done for journals? 2/3 said not at all, or in less than 25% of cases. And do you think, Mr. Reviewer Researcher, that if I give you an incentive, that's going to have a positive effect on your willingness to review? Very much. To some extent, people do want to get rewards. They know that they're not going to get recognized potentially by their institutions for the work that they do as reviewers, and they feel that they're not getting anything back, even though this is, for academics, something that they feel that they should be doing as part of their service to the community. So that's really, really, really important. So at Reviewer Credits, we are building an accountable, accessible, and accurate peer review network that will help researchers with the peer review process. They'll get training, they'll get certification, they'll get matched to incoming journal peer review requests that really will help them in their careers. And that's a good thing for researchers above all, but it's also a good thing for publishers and journals because you will get access to willing, accredited, trained, and verified reviewers. So our platform is accessible. It is fundamentally aimed at enhancing the careers of reviewer researchers. As I mentioned already, we love peer review because it's so sticky. If we're talking about the sales cycle, for example, we know that if you are a researcher, you're also going to be doing, or at least getting asked to do, lots of peer review. So at the same time, we're big proponents of open peer review. We've heard about that a little bit in earlier presentations today, and we continue to do what we can to advocate for change, in particular, as Phil was saying in his presentation, in the academic recognition of peer review, because as a society, we need to work much more closely with researchers, and we need to take a holistic view in order to root out and identify many of the problems that we see in terms of research integrity and in particular in terms of peer review. So if people aren't transparently being rewarded, recognized, and certified for their efforts, then they're not going to do the best possible job. In fact, they may even do a bad job. So Reviewer Credits, that's what we're all about. Agile, open, and curious. And thank you very much for your attention and the chance to do this presentation today.